morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at, well, the most expensive cards from Shining Fates. We did a list the other day about the top 10 cards from Shining Fates. The new cards that are looking like they're going to be playable, make their way into decks, etc. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more time goes by, the more I am thinking I'm still undervaluing Ditto V. By the way, a bunch of people got in touch with me going, Wassy, I know you like Ditto VMAX, and that's lovely, but seriously, dude, you're sleeping on Ditto V and quite how good it is. So you know what? Maybe I am. Plus, I've seen it popping up in some Japanese lists, but that's not what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about the top 10 money cards in Shining Fates. The ones that you want to open up in your packs to either give yourself trade bait or just feel pretty good about yourself that you pulled a good card. Though we do need to start off by pointing out that there are 3 cards missing. Now, over in Japan, Shining Fates was Shiny Star V, and it's not entirely the same. We've gotten a few cards from elsewhere, we're missing a few cards, but this is largely the same kind of thing. And there are 3 cards missing that would definitely make it onto this list. We are missing the Gold Zacian and Zamazenta. Now, it must be borne in mind here that these are essentially being given out in the Super Premium Collection. Well, the Super Premium Collection is essentially the double one. There are also single, just Premium Elite Trainer boxes, either Zacian or Zamazenta, but these cards have been taken out of Shining Fates to be put into that product. What is weirder, however, is Marnie. Now, I'm going to talk about this properly next week, but essentially, there was a full art Marnie in Shining Fates, well, Shiny Star V in Japan, that isn't being put into Shining Fates, and we have no idea why, incidentally. We've not been given a reason for this. We don't know where it's coming. Like I say, I'm going to look at this more in a video in the future. But, and I'm not exaggerating here, and yes, I know the obvious one, this would be number 1. Over in Japan, right now, the most expensive card from Shiny Star V is Full Art Marnie. If this card was in the set, it would be number 1 on this list. And yet it's not there. So now you know. Now you're prepared. The question is, what's actually made the list? Now, a couple that just missed, unfortunately, the shiny Dragapult. And yeah, there's going to be a bunch of shiny Pokemon on this list for the obvious reason. Dragapult is a really fun card because you have to flip a coin in order to actually be able to attack it. It's not a particularly good card. It's not really seen any success along those lines. But you know what? Dragapult's a really popular Pokemon, so that came pretty close. Galarian Weezing's got an amazing ability that turns off your opponent's abilities, especially with the new Ascension Coughing. This should be a really good card moving forward. It's already been popped into a bunch of decks in Japan. It's going to be one of the better cards from Shiny Vault, that being the shiny portion of the set. Similarly, Frostmoth's got that awesome ability that lets you attach as much water energy as you like during your turn. These playable cards are going to end up being popular because people like having the shiniest, coolest, best, most expensive version of these kind of cards. And along these lines, and this is one of the cards I most want from the set, Shiny Chinchino. It's got that awesome ability that once during your turn lets you discard a card from your hand and draw 2 cards. It is absolutely going to be one that people want. And actually, I should probably add to the list Galarian Berserker, because it lets you do an extra 20 damage on your metal Pokemon's attacks, and that is seeing a bunch of play in Zacian decks at the moment over in Japan, so that is something we probably should keep in mind. Oh, and Ducklet. Probably not for anybody else, but for me, the card I really want to pull is Shiny Ducklet. So if anyone pulls a Shiny Ducklet and is in the mood for a little bit of trading, you know, hit me up, would ya? Love me Ducklet. Plus, I've got the Japanese Shiny Ducklet. What am I going to do? Not complete the pair? That would be weird. So now that we've looked at what's missing from the set and the cards that came close, let's have a look at the cards that did make the list In at number 10, it's TOXTRICITY VMAX. And this is one of those Pokemon that is coming on this list for popularity rather than playability. Free energy, 240 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. Yeah, fine, we've got that Garbodor, which will inflict poison from the bench. And we've got the Galarian Slowbro, which will inflict poison in the active and then go back to the bench, use Hiding Darkness energy for free retreat, etc. But it's just not proven to be a particularly good card, unfortunately. It's not really seen a huge amount of success. It's one of those ones, people played around with it initially and it dropped off the map. But TOXTRICITY is a popular Pokemon and this is a shiny VMAX, so people are going to want it. In at number 9, shiny SUICUNE. And when we're doing this list, it really is a mixture of playability and popularity. But because we are looking at collectability here, popularity is going to trump playability a lot of the time. But SUICUNE is just a really, really popular Pokemon. People love SUICUNE. Now, to be honest with you, in a Frostmoth deck, this is not a terrible attacker. Free energy, 130, and you put 2 energy back to your hand, means you can reattach to a Frostmoth next turn, and it means that if you do get KO'd, you only lose 1 energy rather than 3. It's quite nice in terms of playability. It's made its way into a bunch of decks, but it's a shiny card featuring SUICUNE, and people love SUICUNE. In at number 8, we've got LAPRAS VMAX, which honestly might be a little low on this list. I should mention, this list as a whole is a very difficult list to make. It's hard to find good prices out of Japan for these. And even then, it's going to fluctuate over here. The top 4 of this list I feel really, really good about. 5 to 10... I'm willing to accept some argument and some discourse in the comment section. Of course, I also want some discourse in the comment section, because talking Pokemon is fun. So, why is Lapras making it onto the list? I mean, to be fair, Lapras is a decent deck, again, with Frostmoth. And free energy, 90 damage, plus 30 more for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. But let's make no mistake about it, Lapras... I saw a thing a little while ago. Lapras is essentially the least hated Pokemon in the entire Pokemon world. Even if Lapras isn't your favourite, nobody dislikes Lapras. Lapras is a popular Pokemon. And now we've got a shiny version of it. And it is a VMAX, and generally speaking, the VMAXs are going to be more sought after than the regular Pokemon, and one would assume are going to be a little bit rarer. So yeah, Lapras... definitely making it on here. In at number 7, Ditto VMAX. This might be my own preference pushing it a little bit higher, and I am totally okay with this. You see, Ditto, I love Ditto VMAX, I've told you about that, and Ditto V again is looking pretty good. I love that for a triple acceleration energy, you can copy your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. I mean, you can KO a Zacian who can't KO you back. That's got to be fun. But also it's Ditto, and people love Ditto. Also, Ditto V, you might as well just kind of put it tied on the list here, because the ability V transformation is awesome. It essentially lets you play a 5th or 6th version of your chosen V, so if you can't find it turn 1, you can start setting up a Ditto V and swap it later. But also, look at the artwork of shiny Ditto V, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the artwork of shiny Ditto V. Now, in at number 6, we've got ORANGURU, and this is one that actually is coming in for playability's sake. And I tell you what, this is not just some card that sees a bit of play here or there. This is a card which is going to survive the next rotation, which is seeing a humongous amount of play. It's got the ability Primate Wisdom that lets you swap the top card of your deck with a card in your hand. And this is absolutely amazing. It sees a huge amount of play. It just lets you see an extra card, which is quite nice, because you're essentially drawing a card and then putting a card back. But there's also weird little things, like if you want to play a Professor's Research, you can put a card on top of your deck using this, so that it doesn't get discarded. If you've got something like a Boss's Orders, but you're really worried your opponent is going to play a Marnie to reset your hand, you can use this to put Boss's Orders on top of your deck, and then if your opponent does play a Marnie, your hand goes to the bottom of your deck, and you guarantee to draw the Boss's Orders off of the Marnie. It sees so much play, people are going to want the shiny version. But it's actually pipped into the top 5 by Galarian ZIGZAGOON. And a lot of what I just said about Octillery applies to Galarian ZIGZAGOON. It is a very, very, very playable card that sees play in a huge amount of decks. And this is a shiny version of it. I've also got to point out that the artwork here is absolutely amazing. If it wasn't so playable, I'd want one of these just for the artwork. I fear that unlike Ducklet, I might be priced out of this one. As much as I love me some Ducklet, I'm willing to bet not everybody is going to be going cuckoo for it, which just makes it easier for me to get Ducklet, so I am totally okay with it. We've got the ability on Galarian ZIGZAGOON here, Headbutt Tantrum. Play it from hand to your bench, drop a damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Obviously, in decks like Eternatus, where you need to fill up your bench with Darkness Pokemon, this is an absolute given. You can use Scoop Up Net to reuse this ability by picking it up. It evolves into Galarian ZIGZAGOON, that is another really good Pokemon. Blocks attacks on basic Pokemon. Does also have a shiny in this set, but doesn't make it onto the list because Galarian Obstagoon is not as good as Galarian ZIGZAGOON, both in terms of playability and, to be fair, in terms of the art. So this is a Pokemon that sees play in a redonkulous amount of decks, and it's a shiny version with amazing art. I feel pretty good putting this in top 5. And this is where we draw a little bit of a line, because when we get to the top 4, we do see a big discrepancy here in terms of the top 4 compared to the rest of the list. And in at number 4, we've got Eternatus V, the gold one. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, yes, on the one hand, we aren't getting Gold Zacian and Zamazenta, but we still are getting Gold Eternatus V. And there are several things going on here. I mean, on the one hand, it's a gold card. And we don't have many of these gold cards, and there's only 2 of the gold cards in the set, and they're going to be extremely rare, so just that alone is going to push the price of this Eternatus V way up. But also, Eternatus VMAX just so happens to be one of the very best decks in the game right now, and now you're giving me a super rare gold version of the V. You would better believe people are going to be all over this one. And when you get to the serious collectors, the people that really are trying to buy the money cards and get them graded and stash them away, etc., you would better believe this one is going to be popular. But it's not going to be as popular as Eternatus VMAX. You see, everything I just said about Eternatus V applies to Eternatus VMAX, except it's a better, cooler card. It's still one of only 2 gold cards in the entire set. It's still extremely rare. It is still going to be catnip for collectors. But now we've got the VMAX rather than the V, which probably makes it slightly rarer, although I don't know, they might just print the exact same number of both. That would make sense. But it is definitely going to make it more sought after. And let's face it, the V just exists there to be evolved up. It's the VMAX that's going to be on the field most of the time, so yeah, this is one you want to keep an eye out for. In at number 2, we've got Skyla Full Art, and this is extremely strange when compared to the rest of the list, because it is the only card on the top 10 list which is actually in Shining Fates proper, not in the Shiny Vault subset within Shining Fates. I know. Incidentally, those amazing rares, they're cool cards. They're probably going to attract some value. They're probably going to end up just below the cards on this list. But this is a predictive list from me, except for the top 4. The top 4 I feel really good about. And I don't think the amazing rares are going to end up as high as the shiny cards we're putting on this list. I could be wrong, but I still feel pretty good about it. So Skyla then, I mean, firstly, we got a pretty playable card. Lets you search for a trainer card and put it in your hand. But Skyla is not seeing as much play now as when it was printed back in the black and white era. It's not quite the card now that it was then. But it's a full art Skyla. Firstly, Skyla's a very popular gym leader, and I've just replayed White. I'm in the post game now, ready to head into White 2. Skyla's cool. Also, when I got to Skyla, 3 of my best Pokemon were Gigalith, Vanillux, and Zebstrika. And shall we say, it was one of the easiest gym leader battles I've ever had. But Skyla's cool, and I'm sorry, but the full art female supporters have been pretty popular lately. And you can feel free to disagree with that, and you can feel free to not like that, and that's absolutely fine. But if you look at the prices in Japan and over here, the full art female supporters have been rocketing in price. The last full art Skyla ended up being in fact, both of them, because this is the third full art Skyla we've had, ended up being very popular, sought after, valuable cards. And the fact of the matter is, this one is absolutely going to be there as well. But in at number 1, it's Charizard. And I'm sorry if that seems a little bit predictable, and I'm sorry if you called that before you even clicked the video. But I think Charizard's number 1. Like I say, over in Japan right now, Full Art Marnie is actually commanding a higher price than Charizard. But not over here. Over here, it's not. Because it doesn't exist. Because we don't have the card, because it's not in the set. So for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to look at this and go, well, you know what? Charizard's number 1. And if you want the explanation, if you want the reason is extremely simple. It's Charizard. That's your reason. That's why. The valuable cards from Champion's Path were the Charizard V, the Shiny, and the Charizard VMAX, the Rainbow. Is the Shiny VMAX going to end up being more popular and more valuable than the Rainbow VMAX? It's going to take some time to figure that one out. I think it probably will, because there's only one Charizard in the set, not 2, and I think it's going to be harder to pull than the other Charizards. I could be wrong, but I do think at the end of the day that there is no card in the set which is going to challenge this in terms of value. Playability, it's fine. I got kind of excited when I first saw Charizard VMAX. I thought it was going to be a pretty good card. I liked the idea of triple acceleration energy and vitality band to get a one-hit KO on a Zacian. The lovely Antoine Boulet told me I was wrong and that I was about the only person hyping it. And I said, well, we'll see, Antoine, won't we? We did see. I did not win that. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I still think this is a number 1 card. And certainly when you're opening packs of Shining Fates, this is the card above all others you're going to be wanting to open. But now it's over to you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Are you in agreement with me about the top 10 cards? Do you think there are more valuable cards that should have been on this list? If so, tell me which should have gone on and which should have come off in their place. Give me your own top 10. I would be delighted. And I want everyone listening in the comment section to tell me the one shiny card that they want. In the same way that I really want a Ducklet, even though it's not going to be that valuable overall, tell me which card it is that you are particularly looking for. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio. Good luck finding Shining Fates!